Hello and welcome back to the Reloading Podcast. My name is Beard and I am here again with Nederdirk.
Hi. It's been a while.
Hey. It has been a while. We had to delay for a week because first we had some technical issues in the form of my recording messing up, and then Chapter 12 came out when we planned to release at the middle of the week. So now we are 1 week belated on this episode, but fret not, next week's episode is coming out on regular schedule. But just so you know, we've already talked about this stuff rather extensively in the failed recording, so if our conversation isn't quite as engaging as usual, that's why. Apologies, but we still really want to make this episode because there's some really cool stuff to talk about. And to do so, joining us today is another guest. Why won't you introduce yourself?
Hey there, my name is Matt. I am the host of Game Press's Theater Betting Panel, aka Bring That Panel, or for this Theater 3 Rendition Division panel.
Right, divisions are coming up soon. That's something.
Yep.
What's coming up soon?
I think, was it in
Division collab, February 2nd, I think.
Oh
so
yeah,
it's
the
next
Division
maintenance.
collab is
Theater
starting.
ends,
The
and it's
main
ranked Division.
It's actually starting right after this one goes live. I think 2 days after this episode goes
Is
live.
it February 2nd or something? I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, which is next
Yep,
Thursday.
February 2nd.
Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Next maintenance, yeah.
So next maintenance, the day or 2 days after this episode goes live. So yeah, basically what we're talking about today is all this spicy new shit that we've gotten over the last week or two, which is our new season of theater, all the new announcements from the recent dev stream, and Chapter 12, which just released 2 days ago from the time we're recording this.
Yep.
So, let's start at theater, I guess, because that's exactly what Matt here kind of specializes in, I would assume, to an extent at least.
Unfortunately.
The pain.
At least it's kind of what you're here for, right?
Pain Pecco, yeah, unfortunately. Theater is my specialty. It's my claim to fame, as you will. Even though I'm like, I don't even know what my ranking is. I think last time I looked, I was like 20%. It hurts. It hurts. I got filtered by Core 8 the first day, and at least I made a comeback day 2 and 3, so that kept me alive.
All right, so this is a bit of a perk to us recording this time, a second time actually, because we get to talk about Core 8 this time, which we hadn't reached last week yet when we were recording.
And honestly, Core 8 definitely did change what we could talk about, because at the early stages, theater was really easy in my opinion. Like, there was nothing much to talk about.
It was super easy. There wasn't much to talk about. But honestly, I think Core 8 isn't actually that bad.
Yep, the only issue for me are the Minotaur.
Yeah.
But there you can have like certain special teams for this.
Yeah.
My only issue is, in this case, the special teams I can deploy aren't good enough. Just barely not good enough, so...
Yeah, I can't take them out with no damage. I can at most take 2 a run.
Yeah, similar for me. I want to avoid getting more damage than I'm currently am right
like,
now.
I can't run... Like, you can only run one of each ferry, right? Or in general, one of each unit.
That's correct.
Yeah.
No
so
duping.
I can't exactly share my taunt between 2 teams.
That's true.
And, I need it for the Ulan team, which also doubles as the Patroller team and the Pixis team. Which it actually does work quite well as the Patroller team, which did surprise me a fair bit. Because usually you'll see like, oh no, don't use shotguns. What the fuck are you doing? You need those buffs on your rifles. No, it's actually fine. Just M200, SAA, and M14 mod with 2 shotguns as like a usual Ulan team with a taunt works fine. If you do a bit of micro.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like just once the taunt goes down, rotate your shields around and everything. It works pretty nicely.
I don't have to do any micro with like Ulans, and I barely have to do any with Minotaurs.
Oh yeah, not
now
for
that I've
Ulans,
kind of,
not
like,
for Ulans.
got it down packed.
But,
it's like, this is really nice. Most of
but
it
for
I can
patrollers.
AFK, which is really good. Oh, patrollers, yeah, I can honestly just AFK him. It dies before it gets the shot off, so.
Well, it's mostly just like the taunt goes down like I think 2 rotations in, at which point it's down to like half health.
For the patroller?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the patroller is actually really easy to deal with.
It is pretty easy. You just need, in my case personally, I just need the micro.
Yeah, I think even if order taunt, it's pretty simple to do as long as you feed it certain titles that just escape at the last moment.
Yeah.
Like, so the good thing is with Core 8, unlike I feel like unlike last time with Core 8, the specialized team is really just for the Minotaur, and that's it pretty much. Like everything else.
Minotaurs and Doppos.
Doppels are okay. Doppels, in my opinion, have like been 0 issues for me. They just
they haven't been an issue, but still, I wouldn't throw my
gladiators can be a complete pain if you encounter
gladiators can be a pain if you don't get good HOC hits.
That, or if your team is weakened at some point.
Yeah,
because
or
shooting.
shitty kiting. Yeah.
Yep.
I personally run I have like 2. I have one dedicated RFHG. I have the Ulan team, and I have an ARSMG, and that's pretty much it. The RFHG is for Minotaurs, Gladiators, and Doppus. Because the Ulan team takes care, like I said, of Pixis, Ulans, and Patrollers. And the RFHG has Twin Fairies, and the Ulan team has the Taunt. So the Gladiators are pretty much taken care of because of the Twin Fairies.
Yeah.
No need to really kite a lot.
Which reminds me that I should probably use PA-15 more, because the stun skill is really good actually.
Maybe I should look
I'm
into her as well, but I think
chapters.
I don't have her linked.
Yeah, it's
and
really,
right now I'm in core hell.
It's really nice if PA-15 hits a heavy hitting unit and just stuns them for like a second or 2. Like, it's wonderful because the amount of time it gives is great.
Anyways, let's let Matt have a word in here.
Yep.
If he's
No,
got
you're
anything to
fine.
say.
There's not too much to say. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
My runs have been really easy. The Minotaurs are the only problem. That's what filtered me on day 1. My teams were not adequate. Even now, I'm actually using the godforsaken Holy Cross.
Most of the time,
and that's the only way that I can beat them.
Yeah, again, the Minotaurs are just kind of a mess. Because having 3 of them up at once and having to just time the rotation or the kite just right before they start their tasers, that's a fucking pain. It's so reset heavy to just get that timing down.
I feel like I should
maybe it's just me being like not practiced enough with it, but it's a pain.
I should definitely look up some Minotaur fights on YouTube or similar, because I don't really know how to kite them. I have an idea on what I could do.
It's mostly just like throwing all your handguns, like all 3 handguns at the front, letting them shield. Hope to fucking god that you can take out as many of the Serenitas in the back line as possible. And just before they drop their shields, kite back.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured.
Because then they won't immediately start tasing once they hit your backline.
That's kind of what I imagined.
It will still probably start tasing if you're not careful enough, and you can mess up that timing pretty well.
No, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's better than nothing, but again, it's just a really reset-heavy fight, and usually I still take a considerable amount of damage to my HGs, which sucks.
I mean, ideally my goal would be to get through the Minotaur without losing more than 3 dummy links in total.
Yeah, something like that. 3 or 2 links.
Yep.
On each tool.
Yep. Yeah, if you don't have a good fairy at the front, then that's gonna damn you on it no matter what you do.
My twin isn't bad. It's SL9.
Yeah, mine is SL10. The taunt I use is also SL10. I'm just one thing
on the
with
Serenitas.
Yeah, I'm one Taunt Fairy away from an SL4, so not SL4 but 4-star Taunt Fairy.
I only have a 100 points 2-star taunt,
Ouch.
which fucking sucks.
Yep, Taunt is like one of the best fairies in my
It
opinion.
has Fervor as well. Yeah, it's way too useful. That's not like that's one of the things. Fairies ruin everything. I'll say it. I'll say it all the time. Anytime I get the chance, fairies ruin everything.
I can't disagree with you there sometimes, because I just have no fairy luck whatsoever. So mine are all still like in the 2 to 3 star range.
I understand
Bees are
why
getting
fairies.
friends.
Huh?
Bees are getting friends. Someone also dislikes fairies. That's amazing.
I get it all. I get it all. Like, they are a nice mechanic, but it's just that some of them are way too fucking useful, and some of them are way too fucking useless.
Yeah, I think fairies could need an overhaul.
Like, fairies do definitely need an overhaul, especially because a lot of them have effectively been integrated into HOCs much better.
Like there's
It's
certain fairies I think where you're like, that would be cool if only it would be useful. Like the construction fairy that gives like this massive buff, but only to a node.
To a single node, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it would be cool if, for example, it had an effect that surrounding enemy units would then turn aggressive towards that one spot.
As a bit of like a taunt.
Yeah, pretty much. So
like a map taunt. Basically.
Yeah, for example.
That would be a really cool idea, but yeah, that's the thing. They don't have enough utility for their niche that they're really useful.
Yeah.
Like specifically construction, which we've only like seen ever used in speedruns for SC ranking.
And esports. It was that in esports.
Yeah, there was.
It was in esports, yeah. It was in esports, which was SC ranking speedrun, effectively. Though a timed one.
Yeah, no, I don't even have construction myself. So
I do have her,
Yeah,
but
same
I
here.
sure as fuck don't have her leveled. I know the Mine Fairy is gonna be useful in PL ranking, I think.
Which one?
Something I heard.
There's debate.
Mine Fairy.
No.
I heard of it just to like help with the death stacks or something. I don't know, something like that.
Man, there are so many useless fairies at this point.
Sniper.
Yeah, sniper would be cool if you could use a pre-combat.
Yeah.
Like there's, I think like
Yeah, the thing
what,
is
what
like
fairies need is, in my opinion, more map integration. Like
the
for
thing
example,
is
having the sniper fairy deal damage before the wait.
basically give them their own phase.
Oh, here would be an idea for the sniper fairy. You know the new, okay, not new anymore, but the feature where you can preview the enemy formation exactly.
If you can
Imagine
use,
if you
use
could-
that.
Yeah, if you could use that, select
Choose
an enemy
sniper.
there, and then the sniper takes down like 24.5 or so from that one selected enemy before it
I
begins.
feel like that might be a little too much already.
It depends. You could also then reduce the strength of the sniper fairy to like 5,000 or
Fair.
10,000. So
Fair.
that would be definitely be an idea to incorporate more of the features.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing with a lot of, especially like strategic fairies, is that some of like they don't really have like except for illumination or something.
Elimination is really good. Surprisingly. Oh, not surprisingly.
Illumination is really fucking good, especially on larger night maps, of course.
Speaking of, my elimination is soon level 10.
Yeah, I got her to SL10, rushed her for SC ranking, because
Nice.
it was just so nice to have that extra node reach.
Yeah, I did my scuffed SC run with I think an SL7 Elu because I didn't have the advanced data at the time.
But yeah, like Ilu Fairy is a bit of an outlier for strategic fairies, I feel like, because they're all
She's
just
pretty much
kind of
useless now
shit.
too.
Because the thing is, all the strategic fairies are basically map bound. They're bound to the map.
Yep.
But then you run into the problem that none of the maps are really designed with any of the fairies in mind, which is in and of itself fine, because if they were, it would become way too easy if you were using them, and it would become like a detriment if you didn't have them to clearing the map.
Speaking of, that reminds me of a certain map design or design philosophy that actually makes Parachute Ferry more useless as time goes on. We just
What do you mean?
You know how future maps basically make Parachute Ferry just turn into, I guess you can go into this empty space here where you can do literally nothing or just fight against strong enemies. It just doesn't help at all.
What do you mean?
The usefulness of the
like
Parachute Ferry has been...
Do you know, like an example?
A lot of maps actually, I think.
Because like for most maps, it's pretty much a positive to land, or to parachute into an empty area, because you have the debuff for at least 2 rounds.
I mean, I don't mean like the debuff itself is that you land in an empty area. It's more so that the areas in which you can land on are strategically nowhere near as useful later on.
Yeah, because
Like-
it's a fucking broken ferry.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like the issues like in this case. That you have like this ferry, it's really good, and then you get it, and same goes on, just like, oh, well, I guess I don't use it anymore.
I mean, it's similar to how Arknights have stopped, like, Hypergriff have stopped designing maps with, like, long corridors and shit. So people can't use Ifrit as effectively anymore. Because she just fucking blows everything in a straight line up. So, like, literally the term for a long stretch of tiles that's, like, a long stretch of open tiles in Arknights is an Ifrit lane. Because of that very thing. So, they kind of just stopped putting those on.
But in
So
this
now
case,
she's more of a situational part, or like a kind of like a dividing thing, which is like one of the core uses in one of the annihilations. There's a lot to
Yeah.
Arknights as well in a similar design vein as to fairies.
I'm honestly would say that map design should be considered after character design in terms of nerfing and balancing. So if a character breaks certain maps, or then I would fix the character first, then the map. If that doesn't work,
Yes,
I
yes.
think map design should be more open to certain design things.
Yeah, but again, then you have the part where, you know, how do you nerf a character in a gacha game?
You could reduce the stats, for example, and give compensation in terms of items.
I mean, if you want to compensate, then, like, there comes the point that, you know, how much money did people spend on this? How much is feasible to give back to them? And that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Because in the end, they still have the unit, right?
of course. I mean, I would never take them away from them. Would make sense.
I mean, yeah, of course. You wouldn't take away the unit from them, but, like, to what degree would you reimburse them, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I would. That's a good question, actually.
The thing with fairies is just, again, if you look at Parachute Fairy specifically, I think it was 5-6 or something, where she basically just completely trivialized the map down to one battle.
Mm.
I think it was 5-6. Which, like, when you first get to 5-6, it's a fucking hard map.
Yep.
So it just completely trivializes that. And I'm just not a big fan of that. I do understand, like, certain things in a game being able to completely break the game, but I'm not a fan of trivializing content in that kind of way. That options that you pick up later can trivialize content from earlier on, if that makes sense.
I mean,
Personally,
That
I'm
part-
more of the opinion that you should just be able to steamroll shit. Which, yeah, sure, at some point on, you can steamroll 5-6. No problem, I can do that. But there's a point in between there where you will definitely have a parachute fairy, but you can't steamroll 5/6, and it basically
Depends
trivializes
on
it.
how you do it. I mean, I'm pretty sure you, I think like everything to chapter 6, if not 7, can be steamrolled really fucking fast if you have any knowledge about what you're doing and
Yeah, but
utilizing
for that you
your-
have to know what you're doing. So basically you're playing an alt, which at that point,
Yeah,
of course you know
that's
what you're
true,
doing,
like-
and you're just gonna steamroll everything anyways.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, without knowledge, I think chapter 5 can be an issue.
Yeah, chapter 5 is like that first kind of hill you have to fight up on.
Yep.
Wait, no, 5/6 is Destroyer.
Destroyer, yeah. I think,
Then it was...
do you mean 6-6 maybe?
No, 6/6 is Alchemist.
Yeah, 6-6 Alchemist.
Was it an emergency map?
Could be.
But you know which one I mean, the one with like the narrow passage, right?
I could check the many mirror passages. But also
Like, I
5-6 and
Gauger and
4/6
another one.
narrow ones.
There's like
Oh,
there's like
also-
two bosses. One is I think Gauger. Whatever. Let's get back
Yeah,
to
very
theater.
bad. Okay,
Uh,
theater.
so C won 2 days in a row.
And I was really hoping C would do it twice in a row again. I am disappointed, but I will take the C neutral.
Oh, absolutely.
And I didn't vote.
Honestly, I was hoping for the hat trick. I was hoping for the C hat trick after 2 days straight. But then it like lost by a huge margin.
Damn.
Not the biggest loss margin we've had on EN, but it lost by a huge margin.
Yeah, I was definitely not the happiest about that C loss, to be completely honest with you. I was like,
I was, because I keep saying it on Twitter. It's about sending a message. It's about sending a message. Voting C is about sending a message. And I've done nothing but vote C this time.
It's funny, I was joking on Twitter with somebody, I forgot who it was, but he was like, I'm gonna joking about sending 1,000 drones to A and C
Yeah,
in order for
yeah.
B to win, and then B skyrockets
That
straight.
was-
I'm like,
I think that was
payback.
Ferrari, actually, right?
I think it was, yeah. I tweeted to the U.S. Security Exchange
Yeah.
Commission Enforcement Department.
It was.
They blocked me for that tweet, by the way.
Wait, which one? What the fuck?
I'll have to link it, but yeah, I got blocked for that meme tweet of mine. I was like, you know what? This was worth it. This is absolutely worth it.
See, if you get blocked for a tweet, it was a success.
I got blocked for a meme. Like, I will take that. No complaints.
Yeah, that's just confirmation that it's good. Or effective at least.
Exactly.
Oh my
That's what you
god.
can do on that one.
Actually, while we're on it, let's head to the reloading account and follow you. There we go. That should be that. That should be that.
I'm surprised we actually reached 100 this fast.
100
That's
what?
how I felt when I hit that threshold too. And now I'm almost at 1,000, and I'm like, good god.
Yeah. Yeah, we
My
did.
memes
We
are
did
that good,
actually
apparently.
reach 100 quite fast, which was like just a few days
Oh,
ago.
Right. But
And I posted
fucking
about
damn
it today. If you're listening to this right now,
Ah.
that's the day we're recording on. Like 2 days before release.
Oops.
But yeah, we did hit 100 followers on Twitter pretty quickly. Next goal is 100 subs on YouTube, so we can get that spicy custom URL set up. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please subscribe. Thank you. I don't like doing calls to action, but please, thank you.
That's not
hurt
a correction, it's a
sometimes.
warning.
Anyways, let's talk about Chapter 12, because
Chapter 12, yay.
Chapter 12 is fun. I really like what they did with Chapter 12. Actually, I noticed we had a few UI improvements that are exclusive to the chapter so far.
Was there?
Yeah,
Probably yes.
the objectives.
Oh, right.
Because we actually have fucking silver medals that aren't capturing the full map for once.
Yep.
Yeah,
And they
that's
had,
best.
Those are so
which
nice.
for one is fucking amazing to finally have something else to do, right? In maps.
And to
And
be fair,
second,
it's just kill big fucking enemy, but hey, I take it.
usually, yeah, but like there's the
They're not even that bad.
first one, the 12-1, has like don't engage in any battles, which I have no idea how to do. It's probably
Don't
just the
engage in
two
battles
bottom
as a
paths, I
mage.
think. Just messing around with the two bottom paths.
Mm.
But I haven't like found a patrol pattern in the Goliaths to let me do that yet. There probably is one pretty easily, but you know, small brain. OhImEN. But yeah, the level design is really nice, actually, because you do have like a lot of options on how to either you have a lot of options on how to tackle things, or it's just really interesting puzzles, which I think none of the maps previously really were to that degree.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
also,
we did have a few event maps that were a bit in that direction, but nothing to this level yet.
you know, one thing I
And
really enjoy
I love it.
about chapter 12, it's basically chapter, wait, which one was it? It would be chapter,
10.2.5.
no, not really.
Oh wait, no, it's
It would be like 10.6, for example, 10.6.
yeah,
place
it's
between-
after CT.
After,
Or no,
no, it's
between Singularity and CT.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, 10.6.
And it's also at
10.6.
the same time, it's chapter 11.75 or so, because it plays so close to
CT.
no
SC.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool.
I do
You know,
like
one
how
thing
it's...
I had brought up was that a few people, or at least one person I know, enjoyed chapter 12 much more as the ending of SC, and while I kind of agree with it that it gives like a certain kind of resolve that SC didn't have, I actually think it was a lot better the decision to make it a separate chapter because of how it flows together, like from getting Dandelion and then learning more about her and M4's past.
I haven't finished the chapter yet. I just finished 12.4.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk much about
Just
5 and 6.
barely, because Jesus Christ, fuck 12.4.
The big elite
I
is a
agree.
pain.
God. Nightmare. Anyways. Something I want to point out, though, is before I went to chapter 12, I also started 11 Emergency, because I haven't done any of that yet. And holy shit, 11.1e is so fucking good.
I think yeah, that one was good. I think 11.3e, however, is a fucking nightmare, if I remember correctly.
I'm talking story-wise.
Oh, that's also true.
I'm talking story-wise. 11.1e is so fucking good story-wise. Because just... it has a kind of slice of life-y vibe to it, but it's still, you know, it has a bunch of stakes. But, you know, we're introduced to Banana, and there's a bit of shenanigans on the train with, like, Sop being a little fucking child, and the commander reading his magazine, and Sop making remarks about it. Or, Ro. It's just comfy, but it still works really well.
I think something similar is also in chapter 12 going on at the moment.
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah, it's
Especially-
I think definitely one thing I noticed with chapter 12 compared to chapter 11. 11 is like really fucking massive in terms of like how it's written, etc., and how much text there is.
Yeah,
Yes,
chapter 12 is a bit more brave.
Yeah, chapter 12 is a lot more subdued. It just relaxes things, has everything pretty easy, at least in the normal map so far.
I feel like we're going a bit out of Matt's element here.
No, you're fine. I'm a little bit further behind. I just got through 12.4, like you said. I'm working to getting through 12.6, and then I'm gonna do the emergency side so I can start doing
I mean, I
the
haven't
holy
done.
land of 12.4e.
I haven't done.
Because God knows I need the cores.
no,
I haven't
no,
done any 12 emergency yet.
Same. So I the only thing I'm at an advance between you two is just 2 maps. It's 5 and 6, and it's not really much I can talk about there.
Yeah.
So-
One thing I don't really like about chapter 12 is how retconny it feels. Because it does feel a bit retconny.
I mean it.
Because, I mean, it a lot of it is flashbacks, right? Between Singularity and CT.
Yep.
And maybe a bit after CT.
Not really.
I'm not quite sure on the placement of a few of the snippets, so
I
excuse me
wouldn't,
if I get
because
something
nothing
wrong.
really gets corrected. It kind of shows the alternative perspective that we didn't have before.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because none of that seems familiar, at least like my recollection
Yeah,
of
it's
the
not.
storyline.
It's not.
It's not really
The memory-
retcon in that way. It's flashbacks, yes, but it's filling in gaps that we definitely didn't have before.
Yeah, definitely. But that's why it feels so retconny. All of this is completely new stuff that I feel hasn't even been alluded to before.
The thing is, okay, I can't really explain too much without getting into details, but I can tell you so far that it's really not as retconny as you think it is. It's actually quite well done in this regard, because
I mean, I'm not saying it isn't. I do genuinely.
like, I think the
is
main
really
issue you
nice.
have, pretty much, I guess, is that you don't really know yet where exactly the flashback takes place in terms of the timeline between Singularity and Continuum. Because that part is really important to know.
Probably yeah. That's a good point. But it does feel like it just like it tries to plug in a few things there after the fact.
I mean, that's kind of the nature of this way of storytelling. Like, it's just kind of, of course.
I just think it doesn't feel like
definitely-
It doesn't feel like it's fleshing out. It just feels
It is.
like
It definitely
again,
is. It's just
it's
the
plugging a
most
few
of the
things
fleshing
in
out happens at like chapter 12.5 and 12.6. That's where like the big stuff
Fair,
happens. So.
maybe. Yeah. I mean, I've seen that with the chapter 5 pre-mission story bit.
Yep.
With Nitos being introduced, there is definitely something
Finally.
there.
I can headpad Nitos in a normal map, and it's easy to get to them.
Yes. I definitely do see that. That might be a thing, and I don't know what 12 emergency holds yet either. So that's another thing to
I
consider.
have an idea what it could hold.
I don't. I mean, I know they're called like coffee break, I think. Which is nice. Yeah, I just don't quite know how to feel about it. But again, I haven't quite finished yet either, so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I would say
Maybe my final verdict will be a bit different, but so far it's not bad. It's definitely not bad. I really like it, and I really like the memory fragments. I like how whimsical everything around Dandelion is a bit.
Speaking of
yes.
Dandelion, she's amazing. Best.
I like Dandelion, yeah. But a lot of the new stuff, I think, which is really nice, is just the, like, early on at least in the chapter, is the explanation behind OGAS and its inner workings.
They're just kind of
which we also get like up to 12.4. There's a lot of stuff to unpack there.
Yep, I mean, chapter 12 is really Shadow Connection, the epilogue.
Yeah, it's basically an epilogue for Shadow Connection, which I was really close to my mic there. Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, I do like it, and yeah, it does have a bit of an epilogue vibe, especially because it picks off like a bit in action, like right after the action of Shadow Connection.
Yep.
Which is why I do think a lot of people would say like, oh yeah, it would have been better as like an extra chapter on the end of SC or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean,
which
I guess.
I can definitely see that.
But I honestly, I think it was much better to get with chapter 12 as a standalone, because afterwards came Polarized Light, and just imagine like having this huge fucking event that just then goes straight to the next huge fucking event. It's just like, God fuck
Is
no.
Polarized actually that big? How big is Polarized Light?
I mean, Polarized.
It's supposed to be pretty big. I mean, it's like 5 chapters in terms of size, but in terms of storytelling, it's a pretty significant event, even though it was COVIDized, if you will.
The thing is with Polarized Light, like it's the first major story event that has been teased in this event prior. Like there's so much fucking build up to
there is a
Baginski
lot of
submarine
teasing
base.
for the submarine base.
Like they've been planning
and chapter
it for
12
a while.
expands on that, right?
Yep, that's even more teasing in this case.
And this is another thing, which is why I feel like Isomer or SC, couldn't really tell you which one, but either Isomer or SC were the end of season 2.
It should have been Ice. No, it's not Isomer.
We don't have like we don't have a thing like we had with Continuum Turbulence, where it's specifically the start of season 2, which it says in the PV, right?
Yeah.
Because from then on out, it was pretty much clean sailing for the game, which it wasn't at that point, or just started being at that point, which is why they said, oh yeah, hey, here's a big new thing, season 2, fuckers, let's go. And they weren't in that situation since then. Again, it's Singularity being the turning point for the game on a meta level as well, right?
Yeah.
So there wasn't a situation like that, but I do feel like Isomer closes out that arc setup in CT pretty well, especially with the AR team being reunited, which again, still my favorite scene in the game. Though I will say 11.1e does rival it, because it's just so comfy. But yeah, it feels like after Isomer going into SC, there wasn't like it's the next new arc, the next big arc, right?
Yep. One thing
Either that, or if you want to, you can pull the line after SC and be like, we're busting into season 3 with polarized light and this big operation. So I would pull the line either after SC or Isomer.
Yeah, probably Isomer, because SC is already part of like a new.
SC is already part of the arc. But it feels a bit too setup-y. Like in terms of momentum, especially if you compare it to Continuum Turbulence.
Oh yeah.
As the start of the previous season, it feels a bit too set-up-y. So
usually you start a season by setting things up.
Well, again, the vibe from SC or CT was different, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I feel like, and if then you want to say, season 1 started on the prologue, it had a similar thing going on, right?
Yeah.
So
actually,
it's...
the one thing I really like about chapter 12, which isn't really story, it is story, but it is kind of like a mini meta joke, more or less, is that at some point there's something being revealed that you can learn about in the confidential files, confidential messages in SC, but if you haven't read them, you can actually understand how a certain character feels about the reveal of a certain objective, for example, or a certain thing.
Is this 12, 5, and 6, or are you just leading us on?
5, 6. It's on the 5, 6. But it's like, I kind of forgot about that, and it's like, well, yeah, if you haven't read the confidential messages, then you didn't know about it.
I did read them all, but I probably don't remember any of it.
Yeah, see, then it's probably going to work for you.
It's probably going to be another one of those aha moments then, just.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those moments where I was like, oh, hey, this is going to be really cool, actually.
What I do like about, what I do like a lot about chapter 12 so far in the story is about like how many resolutions it has, despite a lot of it, again, being more set-up-y than anything for polarized light. Like it sets up so many beats for polarized light by like resolving a lot of points from previous events.
Yep.
Which is another point why I would say that SC is the end of season 2, because all these questions are answered then at the start of season 3, which with chapter 12.
And one thing I've also noticed with chapter 12 is the writing quality is actually really good there in terms of like not just like what happens, but also how things are described.
I
really enjoy.
Changed for chapter 12, didn't it?
Might be. But yeah, it's like the way things are described is just like, goddamn, that's so neatly described. I think you have read the scene with the explosion, right? With M4 and Star meeting. That should be in 12. 12-3 or 12. Yeah, it should be 12-3 or so.
12-2, 12-3.
12-2, 12-3, something like this. But
Like
yeah,
jumping off the train, right?
Yeah, that like this entire scene where
that
like everything was described.
like that was really verbose, that scene.
Yeah, like
But,
how
but
it was.
it was really nice because it did really well at painting a picture in your mind.
Yep.
Because
really
you
felt
already
like,
have a good amount of the visuals from like Singularity, from the map layout and the CGs and the battle background with against M16.
Yep, and it also did a great job at painting the visuals in a way that it feels like the feelings of M4 instead of like just painting a picture, which is like really nice. Which is
something
kind of, at some point just cracks open.
Sorry, something that really blew me away about it is that it really mirrored well how I would always imagine this, like in my head. If I tried to imagine how the scene as a whole played out, it mirrored that really, really well. Like, especially, like, specifically with, like, AR-15 coming back down with the motorcycle, right? It's not something exact, but, like, always when I try to, like, imagine the whole encounter starting visually, it's like, I know Defy aren't really together at that point anymore, but in my mind, it's always just, like, Defy already with their motorbikes shooting towards the train and M4 jumping on. It's, like, always what it looks like in my mind. And the fact that actually kind of happened, I think that's kind of a testament to the good writing here.
One thing,
because
the best way I could describe the writing in Chapter 12 in a more joking manner is, imagine if Nemogen joined the writing team.
Yeah.
That's basically how it feels. Like, it's just very much poetic. It's
Which
great.
literally is what happens.
Oh yeah, it's true. God damn it. Fucking meta. That's amazing. And yeah. Like, it has gotten a lot more poetic in terms of like how things are described, etc.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm all for it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. I do really, again with having the storytelling basically be from Dandelion's side or point of view, it all has a bit of a whimsical feel to it. Even the more serious scenes.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoy, because that's another thing, like, which I'm not gonna go into it, but you know, we'll talk about the anime in a second. But following the anime announcement, like all these people just saying, "Oh no, GFL is such a dark story and everything." And it's like, yeah, there's a solid amount of suffering, but it's not that dark.
No.
There's definitely much worse out there.
There is so much worse out there.
I would say it's a dark story, but it's not a torture porn story.
Yeah, it's a dark story, but it's not torture porn. It's not like complete and utter despair. It's dark.
Yeah.
It has its
The only reason why
it
you
has
can
its
see
super
why
deep moments, like especially with Chapter 10 and Singularity. But that was because it was like that last big punch. It was supposed to be the ending, so you have to really hit that after 6 or 7 chapters of diddling around. Then again, Chapter 6 did kind of start kicking things off, but you know what I mean.
No, I think the one
and then
thing
since
that
then, like CT, I mean, CT wasn't the darkest
CT
of dark.
was,
CT was
actually CT was pretty dark actually if you consider the whole anger versus.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that shit was intense as fuck.
There was some intense shit in CT, absolutely, but I wouldn't necessarily call it dark.
The darkest part of CT is probably just realizing how much you fucked up Diego and his comrades.
Yeah, just
like that shit played hard.
And that's just, again, a bit more of humanization, especially for the KCCO, which desperately needed it after Chapter 10.
Yep. I think the one thing that people misunderstand with like dark themes is that GFL is really good at making scenes hurt a lot because you actually care about those characters.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love so much about GFL. Is
excellent characterization.
The characterization works so fucking well not just for the main characters, but everyone, because you use these characters in battle. You grow attached to them through the metagame.
Yep, I think like one of the best things as a writer you can achieve, which GFL does.
Because many games don't achieve that kind of like cohesion and investment in the story through gameplay, especially not through the secondary gameplay loop, through the metagame.
Mm.
You know, often you'll have stuff like, which GFL also has, with storytelling in the map itself, in the primary gameplay loop. In the moment-to-moment gameplay, you have things like, you know, maps being set up after like neural clouds, or like the theater that you're fighting in, and then there's, you know, a friendly echelon over there with M4 and shit like that, right? You have all kinds of stuff, and you have all kinds of maps dedicated for storytelling through gameplay. But GFL takes that to a next level by pulling the metagame and the meta investment you have into it into the characterization, and that is something I haven't seen a single mobile game do to even the slightest degree.
So one thing I want to bring up is one of the hardest parts about writing a dark story, or well, more sinister story, is the ability to tell the reader, hey, this person is probably going to die, this person is going to die, this person is going to die, just everyone is probably going to die. Have fun, and then still be able to engage them to a point where they ignore the death flags.
Yeah.
Where like
GFL has a lot of that, I feel like.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where you're like
no one has fucking died yet.
Yeah, the thing is pretty much just the idea of like, oh hey, T-dots are worthless, and that's what you have to keep in mind, and that's how they're being treated, and you just learn more and more about them, and you just start to like them more and more. And the thing is that, again, if you manage to write a character in a way that death flags get ignored, that's pretty much where you have peak writing, in my opinion, because that's where the reader is in more of a denial state, where it's like, no, fuck you, you can't kill them, don't do this to me.
Yeah.
And when you then pull it off, that's where it like really hurts.
Yeah.
Because
basically make the reader so invested into the character that they just get so attached that they don't see the possibility of them dying anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Despite it being an ever-present threat.
Yep.
And then just giving them the 1-2 punch if it happens.
Mm-hmm. Especially worse if you have characters that are then attached, or attached to the other character and then survive, and through the secondary character you can feel the pain further lingering on because they remembered and how the other person was, etc.
Yeah. I mean,
like good example would be with Ro dying, for example, and then how the characters then reacted towards it.
Right.
Like that shit, it's brutal.
I actually forgot about Ro dying for a second.
God damn it.
You got me like, wait, Ro dies? I'm like, wait, what? Oh, no, wait. Oh, yeah, right. That happened already.
Spoiler alert, Ro fucking died.
I was like, wait, hold on. Ro die? Oh, yeah, Ro dies. Huh.
Jaegor did nothing wrong.
No, this banana is just a painted Diner Gate, that's it.
God, I love it so much.
There's no implication
so
on the
much.
Ro painted on it.
No.
There's a reason why I based Beard out of Banana. Which is one more thing, like, as we were while we were already on like the flag writing and everything. Spoilers for if I ever continue / finish it. Fragmented Reality, the story for Beard, my OC as well, not just my avatar, but also the OC that I originally wanted to RP as on my Twitter account, which I started the thing for in the first place. Like, I already have the end of the story kind of planned out in my mind, and it's depressing. Basically, again, spoilers. Beard dies at the hand of Sop herself. I'm not going to go into detail, but if I ever continue writing it, I really hope I'll get there to a point where, readers are invested enough to the point where it actually kind of hurts. and like
that's-
it's a whole thing about like, you know, because she's kind of cobbled together. She's a bit faulty, and her neural cloud just starts going haywire and shit. But again, I haven't like, really figured out the details myself yet. I'll do that whenever I get around to writing it, whenever that might be. It's a long time off, that's for sure, because it's the end of the story. And I'm currently, what, 2 chapters in?
I also I'm gonna continue my story in this weekend.
I really need to continue writing Fragment Reality. I really like the idea. But anyways, so yeah, spoilers for my own story that I haven't been writing for half a year.
God damn it, get to it.
I really need to get to it. It's so much fun.
I feel like the best part about writing your own story is once you get to the point where you're like, holy shit, I've gotten so much better, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, even if you can...
I think like the quality difference between chapter 0 and chapter 35 is insanely high for me.
Even if you, like, compare chapter 2 of... like, or chapter 1 of Azoth to the prologue of Fragmented Reality, there's already a huge gap there. Though I wouldn't say chapter 1 of Azoth is bad.
Yeah, I think like the best way to describe chapter 0 compared to chapter 35, 0 takes place in like a multiple days of story build up. So it's like, I think it's like over a week or 2 does it take place, and it's 80 pages long. Chapter 35 can be done in like half an hour to an hour, or like 2 hours, and it's 70 pages long. Like, there's so much just
more information density.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's not just more information density, but also like better pacing. For example, that I made sure that, for example, if the Kishi P90 scenes, for example, they just feel much more personal. I just wanted to with this chapter I wanted to get across that they're actually a pair. So that's not like just like, oh hey, person says they're together, but it's like more you understand like how P90 thinks, for example, or how Kishi thinks, how they protect each other, how they feed up from each other, or feed on each other, etc. So that like you can fully understand like how much they mean to each other.
Yeah, I still need to read Death Cult. I still haven't started.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. I think most so far have agreed that chapter 0 is a good starting point because it starts off things fast.
Anyways, let's stop talking about our own
Matt
projects.
dies probably.
Let's stop talking about our own projects.
Yep.
So Matt doesn't completely end up like you in this episode with Seiya.
Oh yeah,
but Seiya.
No,
not Seiya.
Sai didn't barely talked at all during the episode with Seiya.
Oh yeah, there was like a almost 1 hour gap of silence.
Yeah, there was an almost 1 hour full gap
Poor
of silence
Seiya.
from his side. No, from him. Not from Seiya. It was just Seiya and me talking for almost the entire thing, and he only threw in like 3 to 5 sentences over the course of the entire thing. I posted the spectrogram on our Twitter. You can find it. It's fucking hilarious.
Oh my god.
Supposed to shine? No, just
Let me
My
grab it.
spectrogram might look pretty bad actually.
Let me. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, here. I found it. I'm just gonna post it. There you go. Whoa,
the link is dead.
What the hell?
You didn't embed that with an HTTPS.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
So,
Oh yeah. I think some of the loudest noises were probably just me hitting something, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, actually were. But yeah, let's get back to things, which is now we've gone over theater, chapter 12. Let's go over
Patch notes,
all
I
the
guess.
announcements
Oh yeah, that's
from the dev stream. Now again, we fired a lot of our ammo here on our first recording, so sorry if we're not as ecstatic here.
Alright,
But-
so first thing first, the net is cute. That's it.
Huh? What? Oh, Nixus?
Yeah, Nexus is cute.
Nixus is
That's-
cute, yes. I do agree. Nixus is cute.
Alright, but on a more serious note, I'm super excited for Mirror's Edge. Like, there's something about this event in the presentation that makes me really hyped for it. I really like the vibe it has going.
I
With the
don't
Rorschach, for
know.
example.
Yeah, oh my, yeah, that stuff is really cool. I
And
do
the
give you
wasp,
that.
etc. Like I feel like chapter or well mirror stage.
Mirror Stage,
Or
yeah.
is it mirror stage? Yeah, mirror stage.
Mirror Stage, yeah.
It gives
MS.
me like this vibe that it's gonna be a particularly grim one, where it's just like Jesus fuck off Paradios, holy fuck, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like that's the vibe I'm
I
getting.
mean, the implication from the PV is they're spreading Elite through insects, right?
Yeah.
That's at
Or
least from the PV.
something else of yeah. Like I'm really enjoying like this vibe it's giving.
Wild implication. For the just scale that Paradius is able to act at, but we already had fucking Belgrade fall to them, so you know. Which is the one thing I don't like about Paradius. They seem way off scale.
I mean the thing is they are pretty much. If you having read the confidential fights at least 5 pages, I know that Paradios are huge. They are fucking massive, technically speaking.
But
Like, well, mostly because of who was leading them.
yeah, the thing is, it feels like the vibe I get from Paradius is one that shouldn't be as large and impactful as it factually is, which isn't unjustified. Like, it's not unjustified how big and impactful it is, but it doesn't feel like it should be.
I think
It
the
feels like it
issue
shouldn't
is-
be this huge.
I think the main issue is that because of the previous PVs, etc., from future events, we have a better understanding of Paradios' scale, or better thought about how big they are compared to KCCO, because I've heard that
just had a
KCCO in Polarized Slice is actually fucking massive.
I just had a wild thought.
Oh no. Okay.
I don't have enough like knowledge about the Confiles 2 to say anything with certainty here. It's probably false. But what if
Speaking of-
Paradeus are like the precursors to the Antarctic Union, the Hollow City?
Mm-hmm.
Or there's something going on there.
Yeah.
Then again, if William is father, that doesn't make much sense, because he later that would mean that he would defect from his own nation to join the UNRC.
Well, I have to read more of the conventional fights to figure that out.
Same.
I might get around to it. They're really interesting, but
But
holy
because of
shit.
how enigmatic Paradeus are, it would make kind of sense for them to be hidden in that kind of way.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows about the existence of the Hollow City at this point. They only appear like as the Antarctic Union, I think, shortly after GFL2, shortly
yeah,
before
one
Bakery
thing
Girl, something like that.
I'm curious about how Paradius is getting.
And I do think they
treated later on.
exist at this point.
I think
yeah.
like one of the main changes in Paradios is probably because of the media coverage, etc. in Isomer, that it makes more sense for Paradios to be much more active now, because
Yeah,
now
people now
that's
know
like-
that exists.
yeah, that's pretty much it. So
Yeah. So it's now just basically, it's out, so just fuck shit up.
pretty much.
Yeah, I guess I can see that. That does make sense. But really, in Isomer and CT, they have that enigmatic image, and that just kind of, especially even in SC, it still sticks around. But now
Yeah.
with Chapter 12 revealing that, the sub-base is basically their thing, that starts to blow that scale, not to a like point where it's too much, but knowing that they're really prominent in the following 2 events, especially the degree to which they're implied to be involved in MS. I'm not a fan, but I'm excited anyways.
I think it depends on like how they're being done. For example,
Yeah.
so for example, it could be just that I think it's like in Berlin or so it takes place, and
Berlin?
Yeah, Berlin, and technically speaking, Paradies also had a huge impact in Belgrade. So the scale they have is the same, just the impact gets more. So that's I think what the difference could be.
Maybe, yeah.
So I don't
we don't
think-
really have a lot of. Again, I actively avoid spoilers for future events.
Yeah, same here. That's why I can only,
I know jack shit
guess.
about DR and now MS, which I think has already started, right?
No, I think it should be starting soon.
Oh yeah, it's starting on like the 4th, I think.
It's their next maintenance.
Yeah. So
So
it's
either
not
on the
started
2nd
yet.
or 4th. I think it was the 4th.
It's their next maintenance. Yep.
Which a thing that's happening on the 4th is that Blue Archive is releasing.
Ooh.
Yoastar's new game. I really want to know how that performs, because it's a formulated GFL killer, and while Arknights was already an attempt at that, which failed massively, this is like formulated. Like it's using the visual style of the two most popular MOBA game up to that point before Genshin came around. And you know, it has the kind of aesthetic, the vibe that's super accessible. It has the whole girls with guns thing. And combat seems eerily similar to GFL as well. But anyways, let's not talk about that too much. Let's get back to the new stuff. Client update, which is already out in CN. I might add, which is wild again that they released that so quick after the dev stream.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, I kind of like it. I do like a lot of the new features. You know, I like that they're overhauling the store and everything, all the gacha shit.
Oh yeah, it looks much better now.
It does look much better now. It just doesn't really feel like GFL anymore.
I mean, I think I actually agree with this design change over time. It definitely feels like it fits definitely more with like the other games in terms of design now.
Oh yeah, it definitely
So-
mixes in much better with other modern MOBA game, which is
but also
important for
Project-
GFL, because GFL is really old at this point. It's almost 5 years old.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if you don't go with the times, you'll have to go.
I think
but-
at some point GFL should get a main UI overhaul, like
Yeah,
for example.
we're gonna need at some point a full UI overhaul, revamp.
possibly.
That's the word I was looking for.
And this here, for example, having here the return button, the cancel mission, the topic path, everything. I would say would need at some point a sleekening, for example. So just having it look nicer.
The thing is that, like, GFL's visual identity is so ingrained into the game that I feel like a lot of these, especially recent updates, like really went against it a lot.
It depends on how you do it or how you view it.
I mean, even if you look at like alpha stuff, it's very distinctly different, but it's still very distinctly GFL.
Yep.
You can see a lot more of the visual style being like leaned from Codename Bakery Girl, which we still have assets from today. Looking at you, Loading Circle. Like, but we have texts. We even have the normal and emergency naming from it. Like fonts again, and like a lot of the paneling and stuff looks very reminiscent from Codename Bakery Girl. And, you know, a lot of that has changed over the various client updates, but for one, not very consistently throughout the entire client. And again, it just feels like a lot of the newer stuff goes a bit against the visual style that GFL has established for itself within like those first 3 years.
I think a modernization in terms of design is also logical in terms of like the story itself, because I think with the advent of Paradeus, mod units, specialized cases, etc., having it feel more sleeker kind of feels like you're also upgrading yourself. I guess.
Fair. That much I will definitely concede.
And I mean,
I don't know.
I'm not really talking about like a huge update. I'm just talking about slight font
Oh, yeah,
changes, adjusting from textures,
overall
etc.
optimizations,
Yeah. So
just making everything consistent.
yep, that's pretty much all I want. So nothing really major.
Lord knows 206 fucked up our fonts on EN.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ. 206 was such EN is such a mess. And the thing is, 207 is not much better in performance.
You know, one of the things with the issue with like probably the main issue is probably God, I can't speak. English text too long. I think what they need is scrolling text.
Yeah. I already had that issue with Bakehouse, which we did go over in the Guess Who's Bake episode. Last one from this one, episode 5. This one is 6. We did go over that. I had to completely regroup the entire dialogue of the visual novel, because the English text would be way too long in many cases for the single line that the game uses to display sentences.
And
which there was only one single case of in Chinese. There was only one single case of a sentence being broken up across multiple lines in the Chinese, and I had to do it literally everywhere in English. So yeah,
and that's basically issue that GFL has, but on a much larger scale, because of every UI element, etc.
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of UI elements at least need that.
Basically, I think like the main way to describe the issue is just GFL's UI is not designed with the English language in mind.
Yeah, it's not. Which is something I actually fear for PNC as well.
Which one?
Project Newer Cloud.
Oh yeah.
I haven't played it yet. I really want to play it for the CBT2 rerun, but I don't have an account. Please, if anyone that's willing to sacrifice their account to me is listening to this, please give it to me. I need it.
I think one of the things that could fix, or at least somewhat lessen the issue, is if EN goes less from translation and more towards a sort of adaptation towards the English language, where it's not just like, okay, we've all this word of text, we're just going to translate it as close as possible, but rather we translate it and then try to fit in as much as we can without breaking up or making it unreadable. Some small points or elements are getting lost in this case, of course, but I think that's something I'm willing to do, because the majority can't get lost in the story itself. So
I am willing to sacrifice a handful of like tidbits here and there, since we won't really lose anything in the story, since there's more than enough space there.
Yep.
So the only thing we'd really lose anything in is like UI and shit.
Yeah.
And like small little quips on the UI for like the mission briefings or whatever.
For example, yeah. Like that's something.
Which we do have issues with right now. Some of the mission briefings are too long for the box. They just don't show up in full. Some of them, like some of the small paragraphs on the mission screen, they just get cut off.
See if I can.
I think there's one in like chapter 4 or 5.
I'm just gonna try something out in chapter 9.1 and see how much text there is if I just take out the combat summary. Yeah, UI help, for example, there's just so much text for the UI help.
Yeah.
So for example, the radar after capturing a node after 2 nodes will be visible. Deployment and resupply are unavailable at this node. And I think in this case a sort of shortening of text would be ideal.
Yeah, just truncating it a bit, make it a bit more. Like, just add some goddamn brevity to it, man.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's not that hard.
If it fixates too much on everything being a full sentence or something that you would explain to someone in person without being like, okay, here, read a note, makes 2 nodes visible, can't be used for resupply, redeploy. That's almost all you need to know.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, let's continue with the new client.
Oh yeah, client.
Woo, new client. The Holy Land, hopefully.
Huh?
The holy land of clients, hopefully.
Sorry, I still didn't get you.
The holy land of clients, hopefully no more lag.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not good.
I didn't hear.
From what I heard,
Yeah.
Android. I've heard Android performance is pretty much the same,
If not worse, yeah.
Oh no.
if not worse in some spots.
Oh no. It's bad.
But iPhone performance is perfect.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
I'll be
And
perfectly fine.
actually, the client update broke Nebula. So,
Oh god.
yeah, if you had like a shared instance for CN and your EN client on Nebula, you gotta redo the whole thing if you've updated the CN client, because it just broke it. It just broke your EN client if you did that. Which I can understand because you're already kind of hijacking the whole thing to get EN on there, but whatever. So yeah, Android performance is about the same, which sucks ass. Because, you know, it was kind of promised that this would fix it, but no hard feelings, I guess. I've actually, like, the few hotfixes and maintenances over time have actually made it quite a bit better. I will say.
That's good.
There have been a solid amount of performance fixes and various hotfixes or maintenances so far. Which is nice that we didn't need any, like, client updates for it. I've been pretty much I've been able to turn off battle simplification, which is nice. And still run pretty much solidly, all in Nebula, Nox, and my phone.
I should look into decompressing at some point.
That I did, I will say. But yeah, if you want to play with 207 on emulator, you're gonna have to decompress to have a playable frame rate. That's what Saya said. Which, not good. Not good at all. Something that's really fun though is that we're finally getting finally getting human adjutants that are not Kalina.
Oh yeah, yeah, Krieger,
We're getting
for example.
the full goddamn cast, which is so fucking nice. We finally know that Persica's ears are headphones.
This is forbidden knowledge.
It is very forbidden knowledge, but it's great. I really like the fact
Lewd knowledge.
it just gives Persica more of that whimsical feel, which she already has.
Yeah, I mean,
to
she's
her
a crazy
lot.
cat lady. We all know it.
Yeah, she's just a crazy cat lady, and it just gives her like it just raises her vibe that you already get from her just to 3 other levels. I love it. I love it so much.
Oh god, no, I just thought about a Yuri manga featuring Kalina and Persica. With Persica,
Oh, please give it to me.
yeah, just trying to make her
God.
a orange tabby, I think it was. It's like, god,
I would love that.
alright. But yeah. I think...
Javier and Krieger call you darling
Oh yeah. I think the most...
on their adjutant
the more-
lines, which is great.
The more...
Also, watch
But,
to segue a bit into some new things that have been discovered with the new human adjutants. That means we also have chibis for them.
oh yeah.
Finally, for the dorms, because you know your adjutant can show up as your account in other people's dorms. So we finally have chibis for all these characters, which is great.
Which is actually something
love
that
it.
has me even more hyped than anything else in the patch notes.
We have a K chibi.
You know, one...
That is fucking amazing. And Javier.
Oh yeah, Javier's voice line or text line is really fucking... Oh god, no, what the fuck?
It's so good.
No, don't. But you know, one thing that was really interesting is having all these patch notes, like they're all really cool. And then later on were hints towards Nitro adoption. It's like,
Yes. Yes, that's what I was segueing into.
yeah.
It's been pretty much confirmed for ever since protocol assimilation released, since KCCO and Paradise are a filter option. But we do have dorm animations and sprites for Nitos,
Yes.
Nito Black.
Which was a
Which
lot
is
of fun,
sick.
especially on Twitter when like everyone was like,
They are really good.
Yep. I actually really enjoyed how everyone on Twitter was like tagging me and was like, hey, come look at this. This is your wet dream. Like, yes.
Yeah. It's great.
Ah, goddamn. It's definitely, yes. Blast as fuck.
I am really looking forward to it. I kind of want to get
Time to
KCCO
skip
first.
Sanguis Coalition just so I can collect everything for Nitros.
Just go
Yes.
straight to Paradise.
Yep.
Give us everything from the start on EN.
Mm.
Like 3 pools at once that we can't, like that
Oh god.
we all have to share the same pulses.
No, oh god. No, actually, oh yeah, there was like this theory that EN client is so bad because of the
Because of all the bloat
yeah,
that we don't have
pretty
yet.
much, yeah.
Yeah, might be that it has to deal with that in the background. It should be fair. CN's performance wasn't as bad as EN's. But EN wasn't nearly as bad as KR. Holy shit, XDG fucked over the KR client for 206. It was unplayable. Straight up
was it
unplayable.
even less playable than normal bad?
So much less playable.
But
It was basically unplayable. KR was genuinely fucked after the 206 update. And EN wasn't even remotely as bad. Even though it was not good, especially at launch. But CN was fairly okay from the start. It had performance issues, but not as bad. And 207 doesn't look much better, sadly. Like I said. Anyways, what else do we have? Oh yeah, everyone got horny over the new Pardea Scientist. That was a thing.
oh yeah,
For like
the
2
Vietnam-
days. I mean, to be fair, she's hot. She's
yeah,
pretty fucking
see, I was always correct about joining Paradios before everyone else. No regrets here.
Man.
No, I'm actually curious about who she actually is.
Yeah, right?
She does look like a. My first guess would be that she's one behind certain experimentations, like based on design, etc., and just how things are building up towards. But it
What do you
doesn't mean.
What do you mean?
Well, Paradios is obviously known for biological research, etc., and SC,
Oh
for
yeah,
example.
she's a surgeon.
And her having been a research agent, and just based on design, etc., and how GFL likes to do its story stuff, I would have to guess she is going to be a link to the humanization of Paradios, like where you like learn more about them in terms of like how they feel, etc., or at least
The
how she
actual
feels.
people behind it. The actual people behind
Yeah,
it.
like she's going to be the Jaeger of Paradios, for example.
I think Polarized Light is gonna cover that.
Yeah, it could be possible.
Since we're hitting the sub base. But God, I fucking dig Nyx's design so much.
Oh yeah, Nexus is super cute.
Nyx's design is so fucking good. And the new units looked wild as well. The 3 new Paradise units.
Yeah, this has 2 floaty orb things and a new Strillet looking thing.
2 floaty things and a new walker. Yeah.
Yep.
Or a new infantry rather.
If I'm just looking at the design, I'm pretty sure this thing's going to deploy a shield. So yeah,
Yeah, basically Paradise Aegis, right?
yeah, that's kind of what I'm imagining.
Something like that.
Oh,
What is weird though is that we have a gunner in the background. Like why?
Probably because the new unit is based on gunners, so I guess that's probably why.
That makes sense, yeah.
disgusting. Not looking forward to that at all.
To MS? In terms of
Nope.
gameplay?
I don't. More enemies.
Oh, just more Paradise enemies in general.
Oh yeah. You know, the one thing I'm actually also really looking forward to is the ending song, because of like who's adding.
Yeah!
Like, holy shit! What the fuck?
Oh shit, I forgot her name. Shit, fuck.
But
shit,
it's basically
shit,
the
fuck.
singer of Metal Gear, the Phantom Pain, the Sins of the Father, and Neo Automata, Weight of the World. Like
Yeah.
those 2 singers.
Yeah, yeah. It's fucking
What
insane.
the fuck?
Yuzhong is literally just Chinese Kojima at this point, just getting his way because why the fuck not? Janik and Donna Burke, right? Donna Burke was the name. Berkey, whatever. But yeah, it's fucking insane that they got them.
Yep, and I mean like the dual randomness song was pretty good actually.
You know that this is gonna be a huge deal for Vanguard sound.
Oh yeah, like that's
in terms like Vanguard have been with Sunborn from the beginning, both from them and from Sunborn's side as Mika. Like they did the soundtrack for Bakery Girl as well. If you don't remember, yeah, Vanguard did the Bakery Girl soundtrack, which is also why the victory fanfares are so similar, or rather, especially early on, were literally the same. And a lot of the background music for the VN parts in GFL are still the same as well. This is one of those things I think I say like every other podcast, but I do think it does bear mentioning, even if it's just a bit of a reminder. You have so much history with GFL. Given that at this point it's a 7-year-old franchise, at least, depending on where you want to start counting. And let's not get too much into that.
Speaking of, actually, it reminds me that one of the most impressive things about GFL in the 7-year time frame is it's one of those very few instances where time actually improves the whole thing, not just because you have more context that gives more weight, but also just in general. I think even without any context, I would say Chapter 12 is much better written than Chapter 1, for example.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know when, but somewhere around here, around this time that we're in right now, the writing team had a major change up.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely like a certain few lead writers have left apparently since Isomer or before Isomer. So there was that, but I would honestly say the replacement is really good actually.
Yeah.
Like I have zero complaints.
The writing has definitely kicked up a notch since, say, Singularity. Which Singularity wasn't bad, especially with Chapter 10, but there's a very definite difference.
Yeah, there is
not it's not a bad good difference. It's just a very stark contrast between the two.
Yeah, I would say that the difference in writing is like it works for me because there's also a difference in like objectives, etc. What's being talked about, etc. So
yeah.
Like if the
really well
writing change would be in the middle of, let's say, Chapter 5 or 6, for example, then I have an issue with it. But because there's like such a huge switch because of Paradeus, etc., like it just kind of fits. It feels more, almost alien now.
Yeah, it's like we're having a very, very different like subject matter. We're having very different objectives. The characters have grown a lot. We have grown a lot more as players.
Yep.
So, a different tone and storytelling like what we have right now. It's just, the game is evolving, right?
Yep.
And that's something you can very much notice. Even just going from, like, Chapter 8 into 9, which was, like, the first big switch in terms of storytelling. Again, yeah, you had Chapter 6, but there was like really a big mix-up in there. It was mostly just that's where things really got started. But like between Chapter 8 and 9, going into 10, was the first time you had like a really big tonal switch. And then you had a similar switch with Isomer after that, with like CT kind of carrying on, like being a little bit of the tail end of Singularity. Which it literally is. It's the aftermath of Singularity.
Yep.
And then with Isomer, you have another one of those tone shifts, and then right afterwards in SC, you have another one of them.
Yeah, SC is like...
SC is probably the biggest tone shift we have in the entire game so far.
SC was...
And Chapter 12 as well carries that further.
Yep, I think SC feels essentially like how Isomer felt for the people that weren't Griffin and Kruger. Like the civilians, for example. Just like this complete helplessness.
Yeah,
That's
kind of like
that's
that.
kind of like the feeling I got from SC. It was like such a feeling of like
Basically
dread.
that yeah, dread. Yeah, that's a really good word there to use, dread, because like if you reading the whole thing, you know what you're headed into and what this is a prelude to, and you already know that, given especially now with chapter 12 adding some more context, with at the very beginning saying, there's 2 more trains coming, and like, you really think they're doing this for us? No, they're fucking not. And Dandelion opening that, the sub base is a huge Paradeus thing, which is where the isomers came from. All that stuff coming together just gives you that looming sense of what the fuck are we about to get ourselves into? On top of, in and of itself, being a really good kind of, not horror story, but it has that kind of vibe to it, which I really like. With it's kind of like cyberpunk horror, if you so wish.
Yeah, I think the one way I would describe it is basically if you went into Singularity but knowing what would happen. Like, that's kind of how I would describe it. Like, there wouldn't be any betrayal, just like, okay, we're going to enter this and shit's going to down. Like, there's going to be massive deaths, for example. There's no way we're going to get through this without any issues.
Yeah. Basically, we know we're about to get fucked, but we don't know how. We just know that we're massively fucked.
Yep.
In ahead of time. And best we can do is hope the best. Anyways, given being massively fucked, GFL anime.
Oh yeah. Fucking normies.
Oh my god.
It's either going to be very good or very bad, and
Yuri
there's
good.
nothing we can do about it.
Yuri good, Yuri fans bad.
Chips.
There you go, that sounds.
We have enough chips. I don't want to get into the whole gatekeeping shit that went down, but let's just say we had a bit of an overreaction to literally 7 people.
Oh yeah.
Like, there were literally like 7 people under the like any trending tweet saying that, oh, Yuri, and people just went off the fucking wall and spammed the entire tweet down with, oh no, this is such a dark story and everything. And I said I wasn't gonna get into this, and now I am. Oh my god.
Well, there you go. Honestly, the Yuri people are fine as long as they watch it. I'm good with it. Just don't.
Yeah, just watch it and don't complain. Like, the thing is, GFL is such a,
let's just say,
like,
okay,
it's
for,
a really
for those
well-established
weird
thing.
Yuri people that are somehow watching this podcast, I don't know. I doubt that, honestly.
Yeah.
If you keep watching
I doubt there's a lot of Yuri fags here.
Yeah, so if you're Yuri fan and watch it, if you keep watching it, the Yuri is going to be get much better over time. Just as a tip.
Oh yes.
Like, it's going to be really nice stuff.
Oh yes.
So there you go.
There is some good Yuri bait in GFL, definitely.
Yeah, like the hints.
I mean,
are
we
there.
do have a pretty good handful of solid Yuri ships.
Yeah, not really ships, but more like kind of like.
I mean, just because they're not canonized or they're not sailing doesn't mean they're not ships.
Yeah, pretty much. It's basically like the ship is built for you. You just have to push it into the water.
Yeah. Like, we have 15M4, we have 1294, we have...
Row and banana. Okay, no, not row banana. Row and
yeah,
supper.
sub and row. We have 45 and 9 and 45 and 40. We have Cali Thunder, which is the one canonized one that we have. Even though it does get kind of like deconfirmed with polarized light, I think.
It's also in the mod story, I think.
Yeah, in Calico's mod story, which refers to polarized light.
Yep.
But again, even if ships are deconfirmed, that's not going to stop them from being shipped.
You also have the best ship, Javier and the Commander.
Oh yeah, totally. Obviously.
Well, I think like Kalina and Commander is a much clearer ship. Yeah, it's actually something.
But basically, we have our fair share of Yuri ships, and like, people are so opposed to the idea of GFL having any hint of it, despite like even some very clear character design influences, especially on AR-15's base design, which does have very strong Yuri vibes, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Like, AR-15's base design looks like a baked Yuri character.
No, I think the main issue is probably just it depends on like who the people are that that are reading or playing the game, because a lot of gun fanatics have like a certain tendency against same-sex stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean, again, it's just the kind of crowd that a game like GFL would attract in the West.
That's also a kind of a topic I don't really want to go into, because politics and etc. It's just fucked us.
That's a mess.
It's a dangerous hole.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, GFL anime, I'm really, really excited for it, because we did get a bit more information about it since we last recorded as well, which is very nice.
Leotard is real.
For one, yeah, M4 Leotard was not just DYJ being horny, it's actually real. Which was like the most recent piece of info that we got. Back in 2018, apparently, a fan asked Umineko, the original designer for the AR team, whether, this whole thing was intentional with M4 wearing a leotard. And yes, it was actually the original character design that intended for M4 to wear a leotard, and just kind of ignored by a lot of people, including the game's artists themselves to an extent.
All of EN.
Which, honestly, a very EN move there, Mika. Just completely forgetting about like your character's clothing for 5 years.
It's also a big brain move. It makes the story more seriously, and everything just works better for M4. And then comes anime. We need more PR. Bam! Now I get it back.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Honestly, the one thing that excites me the most about this anime, the animation of GFL, is just actually being able to share this fucking story now with other people.
Yeah,
holy shit.
The barrier to entry is pretty high in GFL.
It's not. It's really not. Because here's the thing. You can watch pretty much all story segments on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you don't really miss out on too much, except for the meta stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the point you could get hooked into the story, like chapter 6 or 7, for example, or get some chapter 6, by that point you can just pick up the game and play it. Like there's no
but telling someone to go
and
watch the story parts of the game rather than playing the game in and of itself, in my opinion, would be more of a turn-off already.
I mean, you could
just say that telling someone to just go read the story online because the game isn't engaging enough, that's a big detractor.
I wouldn't say it like this, but more like in the sense of like, hey, there is this good fucking story. You don't have to actually play the game to at least get an understanding of the story.
And I do feel like, especially in the early chapters, the metagame does a lot of the heavy lifting and getting you invested into the story.
I would say so. And one thing I've tried,
that as well as I think
I'm currently trying out is getting people interested into the writing of GFL via the DJ Max event, because it's pretty standalone.
The DJ Max event is so fucking good.
Yeah, it's super well written. It's 2 hours short. It's just such a good point where I'm like, okay, here you go. This is the writing quality you can expect.
Yeah, I mean Valhalla is on like the same level.
Yeah, but Valhalla is 5 hours.
Yeah, Valhalla is much longer.
There was also one thing,
and it has a fair amount of in-jokes as well.
One thing I also enjoyed is Chapter 7 Night as an introductory chapter, but that has the issue that it's a
Chapter 7 Night. I don't remember Chapter 7 Night.
Chapter 7 Night was with Negev and Jericho.
Didn't read it.
Oh, damn it.
Actually, just skipped through it. I'm sorry. I haven't read the
really
night chapters.
But Chapter 7 Night, like that one has the issue that it's a more adventurously written story, because in the sense of like, if you use the good storytelling, etc., you can really appreciate it. But if you're just like someone who watches only shonen stuff or so, then most of like the genius stuff that Chapter 7 Night is doing just goes over your head.
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah, it's just a timeline thing.
yeah, not just, but it's also just kind of a thing of like meta writing, etc. And just like the difference between good writing and bad writing, or mediocre writing.
Yeah, fair. Anyways, GFL Anime, a few of the details that have also come out again since. It's not just that Emperor Leotard was confirmed as canon, much more specifically for the anime, which loops back into the whole engagement thing for the early story, is we know it will adapt the early story, which we don't know to what point that is.
Yeah, I'm still guessing around chapter 6 or Arctic Warfare.
Something like that, I think, is the most realistic. It'll be a 30-minute, so like 30-minute episodes, so full length, which is huge, because so far we've only had Healing and Madness chapter, which are shorts, or even just a 4-koma show. And much more specifically, we know that it will run for a season, which we don't know how many episodes that is, but it should at least be it should be at least a full core. Yeah. If we're lucky, we get 2 core. Who knows? Or even more. Asahi Productions are known for making rather long shows, to an extent. Like most of their higher profile shows are a bit longer.
Actually, one thing that surprised me a lot was the involvement of Warner Bros. Like, that's something I barely see. The last time I can remember it happening was in Berserk Golden Age arcs, and even if people shit talk them, goddamn, those movies look fucking gorgeous. Like, they look amazing. And I really hope that, and just based on character design and how it's being drawn, I have to wait for the PV, but I have really high hopes.
Promo art from DYJ, right? DYJ has been the primary promotional artist for GFL for a while now.
Yeah.
So that's not. I wouldn't really say that the character designs are anything to go off of, but given Warner Brothers' involvement, many of the shows that they have been involved in, like the Warner Brothers Japan specifically have been involved in, are pretty damn good. Even if Asahi Productions aren't the best studio out there at all, they haven't even really worked on anime recently.
That actually might be a good thing in this case, because that means that they're not overworked compared to other studios.
They've mostly been doing like character design stuff for mobile games. Hey.
Oh, hi, it's all full circle.
Yeah, it all goes for a circle. But what's much more interesting is that we're getting at least one season. Is that if it goes well, they also want to do a movie.
Oh, and if it's a movie,
that is big.
I imagine like as a movie, Deep Dive would be fucking amazing.
Deep Dive as a movie would be fantastic. Singularity as a movie would be fantastic.
SC as a movie would be good.
A what?
SC as a movie would be good.
Yeah, Shattered Connection as a movie would be fucking fantastic as well. There is like so many of the events would be amazing as a movie. Like there are even some ways you could like frame CT and everything.
The one thing that's going to be really interesting to see would be how, if they're going to get to it, how they're going to adapt Continuum Turbulence. That one relies on the fact that it branches off and it branches off and it branches off. And like that ends.
I think you could do that pretty well, because
you can do it.
SC itself explains it really well, as all the story being part of like the commander recollecting it or retelling it, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty much a seamless integration that it would be. You just have to write it not as clumsily.
The way I would probably do it is have it play all in the interrogation room and give the little bits that are wrong, so that you like watch them as they unfold, and then all of a sudden you hear a slapping sound or similar, with the Naito like telling him like, hey, shut the fuck up, this is wrong, what the fuck are you talking about, and doing it so that the tone of the story is consistent. For example, that he over time gets his lights are getting more darker, for example, or getting more lighthearted, depending on what the tone of the
on
overall story is.
which branch you are.
Yeah, like also just in general that you have like a consistency, that the tone of the story is reminiscent of the mental state of the commander itself.
Yeah. What did I want to mention? Right, about the anime being mostly about the early story. What's most interesting there is just seeing how they'll adapt it. Because a lot of the early story is also based in getting the player accustomed with the game. So we don't really see a lot of behind the scenes stuff for one.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of time is spent on making the player comfortable with the interface and, just getting them used to the mission structure, all that kind of stuff. And that's all not going to be of concern for the anime. So what I do hope, if we don't adapt like all the way up to Singularity, which again would be pretty far for a single core show. If we do get 2 cores, I do think we could make it to at least like chapter 10, and then have like a Singularity movie again, which I would assume to be like the most prominent planned way to plan things. And we can just get a lot more behind the scenes stuff, with all the the mission briefings and everything, go properly in detail, which that is something I would love to see fleshed out, especially for the early story, because there's so little of it that the game can spend time on, because it can't waste your time with it, because it has to get you accustomed with the game.
Exactly, I can't even tell you the last time we saw Hellion or Kruger even appear.
Oh yeah, Matt's still here.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, Matt.
No, you're fine. My spectrogram's gonna be worse than last episode.
Huh?
My spectrogram's gonna be worse than last episode's. We're going.
Maybe not.
But yeah,
you're good. I'm also writing theater episodes, so you're fine.
But yeah, I really hope that they can flesh out a lot of the early chapters a bit more, because that's where the biggest potential is for the anime, in my opinion. Not just to get people into GFL, but to also fix the problems that do arise through its originally chosen medium as a game. Because while the story overall makes really good use of that medium, a lot of its flaws also come from that. Again, not being able to waste your time on actual story because it has to get you introduced to the game. Stuff like that.
Yeah, there's just small tidbits that you can improve upon.
Yeah. Now, anything else on the anime?
Yes, give me a Hidden Mixer OVA.
I would watch that. I would actually watch that. I mean, we do have an OVA series technically with Healing Chapter, but
oh yeah, I still haven't
that
watched Healing
would
Chapter,
be really
and
that would be really good. I would enjoy that. You could even do mod stories OVAs. You could do the new memoirs as OVAs, which would be really cool because they're a bit of slice of life and in-universe slice of life.
Cafe stories, because that's Sunborn's money.
But yeah, there's a lot of potential for a GFL anime, basically, and I really hope it works out. I really hope it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
which
I'm
mostly surprised by it being a primarily Japanese thing, because we've already had some pretty good quality animation come from Liverless for the promotions, primarily for Polarized Light, and the animated PV that blew up everything a year and a half ago.
That was for
the animated PV with AR Team versus Agent.
Oh yeah, that one. I think the main issue with this might be that it could be that the studio is just not suited for long-term projects.
Yeah, I feel like Liverless might just be too small.
Yeah, either that or it's just a really expensive endeavor for them to use them like that.
Yeah.
It's resources, most likely. its resources, most likely.
Yeah. let me
Like it's
just
also
check.
noticeable if you look at Mirror Stage, the PV. There's like no animation there.
Yeah, they have
Cool.
no anime. Like they didn't have an anime PV this time. Let me check those.
Unless there's
frontline.
a Mirror Stage 2 PVs coming soon where they add some, but I doubt it. I wouldn't mind a Mirror Stage 2 PV though.
Let me see if Firebird have anything else on there, or Big Firebird have anything else under their belt. Oh, they have Xianping Jiating under their belt. Oh, do you know Xianping Jiating?
I don't.
That was in, I think, spring season 2018, and it's my it got my personal quote unquote most intriguing of the show award. It's basically just a normal dude having to live with a bunch of like human animal hybrids as his siblings. Like his parents are scientists and everything, and they like splice their children with all these like animal genes, and he like has to deal with them on a daily basis. And it's I didn't watch a lot of it, but it looked really cool. And yeah, Big Firebird worked on that as well. So there you go. Same guys that also did like Healing Chapter and shit, along with Liverless.
I see.
Hmm?
I said I see.
Yeah. So that's actually really neat. I didn't know that. Again, that just raises just the question, like, why are they not doing the anime? I would expect them, like, at this point, if we get like another season of Healing Chapter.
Yeah, one other thing might also be just a globalization, that it might be just much easier to get the Japanese voice actors by working with a Japanese studio.
Hopefully we're gonna get the full voice cast.
Oh yeah, that would be amazing.
If we don't, that's gonna be a huge bummer. They did already get the full voice cast for Healing Chapter. So I will say that I'm pretty hopeful, or I'm pretty certain that we're gonna get the full voice cast for the full anime.
You know what I just realized? One thing I'm gonna be really excited for: the anime original OST.
Are we gonna get an anime original OST?
I can't imagine them not doing at least a few original tracks.
Fair.
It's gonna be interesting.
Maybe a few of the Vanguard tracks rewritten. That would be really cool.
For example,
we do already have the orchestra, which was fantastic. Which a lot of that was Vanguard's tracks rewritten, right?
Sort of. Yeah.
Some of which even from, I think, Bakery Girl. So yeah, getting a few rewrites there would be really cool, reorchestrations.
Yep.
But I think what I'm... Again, I just really wanted to capture the story in a new medium really well. And
I mean, the mangas already doing a fantastic job at it. Like the manga...
The manga did pretty well, but also that got cancelled really quickly.
Which one?
I think the main manga got cancelled, didn't it?
It did not get cancelled.
Did it not? Then the anthology was cancelled, right?
Well, anthologies, they end. It's just kind of the point of anthology.
Was the anthology finished?
I mean, finished in terms of anthology is relative, because it just depends on like which artists are willing to do more.
Fair, I guess.
But
I do think there was one manga that was cancelled. Oh, whatever.
I mean, there's like this one-shot thing. But if you see, for example, the manga, the last update was 26 days ago, so next week we can probably expect chapter 23.
Anyways, anything else left to say here?
Not on my end.
Matt?
Nothing really on my end other than...
I mean, there's like this mini event thing, multiplayer thing, but I don't know enough to talk about it.
Yeah, Port just seems kind of weird and tacked on, so not really anything
100% collapse fluid is going to be interesting, but we'll have to see how it actually is when it comes out.
What do you... Yeah. Anyways, I think that was it then for this week of Reloading. Next week, we're going to get into the Division collab, which is going to be interesting, which is going to be the main thing we're going to talk about. Go and follow GNKTV on Twitter. while you're already here. Links in the description. And follow us on our Twitter as well. Links also
Don't
all
forget to
in
hit
the
the like
description.
button.
Go
like
join
button,
our
subscribe.
Discord. We still need a lot more
Patreon
people.
if you haven't.
We don't have a Patreon yet.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, join the Discord. We really need a lot more people in here. We want it to be a really nice and lively place. And yeah. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. Again, I don't like doing
Hit the like button.
calls.
Ring the bell.
I don't
Yeah,
like doing
exactly.
calls to action, but we want to get to those 100 subs to get our URL set up. So please do that, and have a good one.
Yeah.
Cheers.
See you.